When it comes to starting Shopify businesses or e-commerce businesses as a whole, most people always look for the sexiest, trendiest niches to get started in. We're talking about beauty, we're talking about supplements, fashion, right? But nobody looks at these boring niches that are absolutely massive, like the rug niche. And in today's video, we're gonna dive into a brand in this market. Now, this market is literally estimated to be about $58 billion. That's the global carpet market. And I want to share with you a particular trend that I stumbled upon within this market. I love when that happens. I love when I see trends that are happening within a massive, massive niche like this, especially a boring niche, because this one is expected to grow almost 3x, right, in the next 5 to 7 years, which is pretty ridiculous. That's a lot of growth. So we're going to dive right in. The brand that I'm discussing today is called Revival. I'm not sure if I've talked about them before. It's possible. I've literally done like 1,000+ videos dissecting some of the best Shopify stores, which is pretty crazy. My brain is just so primed for just all the best Shopify stores out there. And these guys are amazing. They sell all kinds of rugs, and they've been around for a variety of years. I think they started in 2020, or I'm not sure when they started, but they've just been continuously growing along with the niche, right? As I mentioned, this niche is just continuously growing. In 2022, they did 11 million. I'm sure by now they're doing probably like $40 to $50 million a year, which is incredible. Now, if we take a look at their traffic distribution, I am going to show you a variety of tools today, but also just a sort of playbook or workflow that you can follow to start your own business in this. I want to do that because what you're seeing right here is called the ShoppyLab software. This is a software, but it's also an accelerator. Now, what an accelerator is a community where we help and coach you build your business, and then eventually the goal is to invest in your business and become strategic partners. So make sure you apply to this. But this is where I found the trend that I'm going to dive into now. This is the website traffic analyzer, and we see that this specific site, Revival, is doing 500,000 monthly visitors. That's a lot, especially for this average order value. It's pretty expensive, right? They sell pretty expensive products, but this is the actual trend that I wanted to actually dive into today. This is what inspired this video, because I saw this and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable demand. And sometimes you just don't really need to understand a trend. If you just follow the data, you can build a successful business. Of course, having a passion in something does help, but what helps the most is just launching a business in the right market. I always talk about this analogy, but if you were to build a hot dog stand, what would help you grow your sales? Would it be to have the best hot dogs, the cheapest hot dogs? None of that. It would be just to have a hot dog stand next to a starving crowd. You could literally have the most terrible hot dogs and just outcompete everybody due to the fact that you're next to a starving crowd. And I think one of the best ways to visualize that in the e-commerce space is to launch products in booming markets. That's why I talk about booming markets all the time. Now, this brand does sell a scallop rug. So this is what made me dive into this brand. They're following this trend exactly to a T. And this is what's so amazing about running a niche Shopify store is that, and by niche, I don't mean small. I just mean, a very specific store where, these guys are not going to be selling AirPods, right? They're not a general store. They're a rug store. Is that you can take advantage of these trends as they come. And that's why, again, I'm not trying to shill this. I'm just very proud of this product. There's literally nothing else like this in the e-commerce space where you literally get coached and you get a bunch of software tools. But this is why brands also should join ShoppyLab. You shouldn't just join if you're a beginner. If you're a brand, you should also join to access some of this stuff, some of this intelligence. But as you see, they're charging $249 for this. It's called the Venus rug. They have a very good way to name these products. I like it. It's not the best SEO, of course, but it doesn't really matter because their brand is just so strong that they still are able to get a ton of organic traffic. And as you see, people are loving this product. This is a really good one in $249. Now, if we take a look even just on AliExpress, right? Let's look at AliExpress quick, because this is one way that you can find products to sell. You can just drop ship them from AliExpress. There's no shame in that. I think it's totally fine, especially to start your business. But of course, if you want a better competitive edge, I would suggest starting to, find custom suppliers and improve products. But you can also go on Alibaba and find very similar stuff. As you see, there's even Indian suppliers, right? This one is, in India, and they're selling these scalloped rugs. And, it's not too expensive. Of course, this is for square feet, but I don't want to do those calculations right now. I'm not a big fan of doing public math, but, there's a lot of really, really interesting products in this category of scalloped rugs. And I would have never discovered this had I not seen the data behind it. So there's so many products. I actually really like these ones too. These bathroom rugs. That's like a niche within a niche within a niche, right? Which is pretty cool actually. So lots of opportunity in this very specific kind of rug. Now, I do want to show you real quick how this brand is actually advertising, because this is also what we do at Ekemi. I have a marketing agency. You guys know I own a variety of businesses, and one of my favorite ones is our agency, because we get to see so much data and we get to literally help businesses grow substantially just through the power of Meta ads, TikTok ads, and Google ads. Believe it or not, a lot of brands, for example, are not running Google ads, or they're paying other agencies or media buyers that are super lazy and not taking a systematic testing approach. Tens of thousands of dollars. I've seen brands paying $12K a month for somebody to just literally run ads and not even report on it. It's crazy. So that's what we try to solve. We want to help you. We want to give you a super fair price for actual growth, just results, right? No headaches, no hassle, just straight results. But they're running a really cool kind of ad template that is proven for them. They run these just like super clean carousel ads where it's just a few different pictures. It's nothing crazy, and they do very well. So I really like the fact that you can run a lot of static ads for this category of product. It makes it very easy to test products. So, I would do something quite similar, to be honest, as them. I would say something like limited edition, one of a kind rug. And, it truly is one of a kind if it's kind of capitalizing on the scallop trend. I would copy their similar approach. I think calling it limited edition does give it like an aura of exclusivity, of uniqueness, and of quality. So, simple verbiage like that can actually make a huge difference. Copywriting is so powerful. It's one of those underrated skills that people don't really think about, but it's very important to dial in your copywriting. And you can do that with LLMs, right? ChatGPT, Claude, these can really help you dial in your copywriting. So yeah, very cool ads. One thing I do want to also share with you, because again, I told you I'm going to share some tools with you, is Smart Reply. Now, some of you get mad at me for talking about my tools, but I think some of you understand that I'm genuinely trying to give you value here. Because if we take a look, for example, at this brand, right, there's a free comment analysis tool on Smart Reply. So you just go to free tools. It's absolutely free. And you can see the Facebook AI comment, or you can see the comments on Facebook's, on these Facebook pages. And you can see these guys are not responding to like any of them, which is just unbelievable to me because they're such a big brand. And that's why Smart Reply exists, because it does it for you, right? It's literally an agent that's going to cost you 1/10 of the price of a VA or an employee, and it runs 24/7, and it runs better. It responds better because you can train it based on your brand. But you can see a lot of interesting marketing angles that we can find just through analyzing their comments. And we can also see some of the pain points, what things people are not liking about the brand. Their refund process is bad. A lot of people are complaining about that actually. And it's complex customer service. They don't like that, right? So people are literally commenting, beware, the return policy is messy and not super customer friendly after they get the original rug back. It's 3 weeks or more before you're refunded. So people are not very happy with their customer service. So just by simply having a more personalized customer service experience, you have a competitive edge on this brand. And that's kind of a good way to think about things. But yeah, I just want to share with you some of the brands that are using Smart Reply because it's been pretty insane. Some of these brands are literally saving $40K a year on payroll. It's insane. It's actually mind-blowing. And it's just super exciting to me, this age of AI. Like, it's just so cool that we can literally use AI to backtest trends, backtest demand. We can use AI to handle all of our comment moderation on our ads. AI is also handling the ads if you really think about it, because Meta ads uses machine learning algorithms to find your customers. So we're living in the best time to be launching a business. And I want to continuously encourage you to use some of the best tools available. And we're trying to build some of the best tools available as well, on top of the brands that we're launching and investing in. So, I've invested in some of the brands that we own successfully. That's been a really cool journey for me, and I'm going to continue to do that, especially into the talented people that join Shopee Lab. Now, one last thing I want to talk about, or maybe not the last thing, is their Pinterest, because I do think Pinterest is kind of a slept on place to just be posting pins, right? Especially if you have a lot of images, or with AI you can make even more images. You can really start pinning a lot of stuff on Pinterest and getting a lot of monthly viewers, a lot of reach for absolutely free. And it's something not a lot of people do, but I do think it's worthwhile to do, if especially if you have a very lean team and you have some way to automate it. That's actually a good idea for a tool, right? Is a way to just constantly be making pins with AI to increase your Pinterest search results. Now, they also are posting on TikTok, but not a lot. They're not really posting too much on TikTok, although they have some brilliant content. Like, I love this kind of content. I'm not sure if they're running TikTok ads, but they absolutely should. TikTok is actually a good place to advertise on. We run TikTok ads for a variety of brands and softwares, and we do see great returns on ad spend on there. The only problem with it is that creatives die a lot quicker, but this brand has so much content that they're producing, so it actually makes a ton of sense for them to be testing out TikTok as an ad platform. I love this. I love this niche a lot. I've actually always been a big fan of the home decor niche, but the only problem is that it tends to be really big products, really bulky products. But that's where the rug niche specifically is just so charming to me, right? Because although it is big products, it's pretty easy to contain. Like, there's a lot of innovation that has happened on like shipping this kind of stuff. Well, maybe not rugs, but I've seen couches, for example, they get like compressed down. And I think you can do something similar with rugs. So it's not super, super expensive to ship or super inconvenient. Also, you can make it pretty simple on yourself by not having a ton of SKUs. I think some brands maybe have too many SKUs in this category, and that makes it more difficult, because you have to own inventory and, ship inventory here and there. That's also where potentially having just a centralized supply chain from China. I think if you can really go for this like limited edition kind of vibe, then people will understand if things take, 7 to 10 days to ship. And especially if they can get a good deal on it, then why wouldn't they want to wait? And especially if it's, a trend where there's a lot of demand, but not as much supply, right? Not as much selection options out there. And that's where these kind of things get very powerful. But with that said, I kind of covered a lot today. I hope that this was valuable for you. I gave you a lot of lobs on tools that you can use, some even ideas for software if you want to build software, right? I think that the Pinterest one is good, and just overall how you could launch a business in this niche. I think it's a great niche, honestly. I really like the rug niche. It's just so massive, and it's just going to continue to grow massively, which I love. I like building businesses in growing markets. Sue me. Just kidding. Don't sue me. But that's pretty much about it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure you check out all of the tools that I've listed in the description, and hit me up if you need any help with anything. DM me on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, wherever you're most active. I'm always checking my comments. I'm always checking my DMs and trying to answer you guys and just genuinely teach you things that I find valuable. So don't hesitate to reach out for help. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.